Hey, very good Monday day. It's time to put your vehicle in drive. You're live on the family station, Love 101. This is the program, The Mailbox, the program that is designed for men. Yes, whose hosts are men and our guests are men. And I am Pastor Courtney Morrison, and I'm here with you today. Kevin is still not with us. He won't be with us for the month of September. Hey, bro, wherever you are, blessings. And so we want you to know that, guess what? This is Suicide Prevention Month. And as such, we want to discuss the topic of suicide, the facts, the fiction, the prevention. Indeed, it's a silent crisis, men and suicide. Today is Wednesday, September the 14th, 2022. And we are here discussing our topic for today, suicide prevention. Our sponsors, we want to say thanks to you. Fosrich Company Limited, your electrical, solar, and lighting people. We thank you for continually sponsoring us or continuing the sponsorship of the mailbox. And so today's guest is Dr. Donovan Thomas, and we'll be discussing the topic, the silent crisis, men and suicide, facts, fiction, warning signs, and prevention. Dr. Thomas is a suicide prevention expert and president and founder at the Choose Life International. It is good to have him. He's also a former director of Jamaica Youth for Christ, a friend of mine. He is from St. Mary. And as such, he's here to really be with us and to tell us all that is happening in this field. And so, Dr. Donovan Thomas will be our guest for today. There's the man himself, looking young as usual. Hey, Dr. Donovan, how are you today?
Greetings, my brother, Pastor Morrison. I am good.
Yes,
Good to be with you once more. It's been a while.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes,
and yeah, Kevin is not around, but guess what? You're quite capable. And we heal up Kevin wherever he is right now, too.
yes, yes. We want to invite our listeners that indeed we're live on social media. So you can view us on Facebook and on YouTube. The handle there is at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Remember, this program is hosted by men. It's designed for men, and our guests are men. And so, men, we're saying you can give us a call at 876 968 8327 or 876 968 8328. Remember, ladies, you can comment via our Facebook or YouTube or via our WhatsApp line, which is the number there is 876-997-3125. So men, 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. And ladies, via Facebook, YouTube, we want our men to be the one who call in. Our WhatsApp line is 876-997-3125. Our guest for today, Dr. Donovan Thomas, who is a specialist and expert in the topic of suicide prevention, and he's the president and the founder at Choose Life International. And so we also want to give the men, Donovan, this is a part of our show. We give the men a shout out, and we shout out Monday. So I don't know if you want to shout out with me. So after 3, 2, 3, Monday!
Monday, also.
And so we said to the ladies, get the men, if they are there, invite one, tell them we're live. And this topic today is a most important topic. And we'll be hearing so much more from Dr. Donovan Thomas. And so we want to ask some questions of you, Dr. Donovan. Tell us a bit about what is suicide and what is Choose Life International. I see you have that logo there right on the shirt.
Yes,
Tell
Courtney.
us.
Thank you so much. I must declare upfront, Courtney, that you have scared me by calling me a suicide prevention expert, because every time I hear about a person at risk to suicide, my heart breaks. And it doesn't matter how many persons we have helped over the many years. The fact is that each one needs special attention, needs special care, and needs to actually deal with what is going on in their life right now. So I ask for prayers, even as you have labeled me expert, because I tell you, it is very sensitive terrain. But as we talk about suicide, I want to just give a very simple definition. And it is the act or instance of killing oneself intentionally. And killing oneself intentionally, the act or instance of killing oneself intentionally, purposely, deliberately. So, a simple working definition as we start the forum.
Thank you. Tell us a bit about, let me go back and say, I'll pray for you as you pray for me, yes? But
Yes.
you are indeed referred to as a suicide prevention expert. So we thank you for
At
the job you
least,
are
at
doing.
least that's better than suicide expert.
There you go. Prevention is necessary. Tell us a bit about Choose Life International.
The
You're a
Choose Life
founder.
International was started in Jamaica in 2008. The mission is to help people live physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Suicide prevention is our flagship. You and I worked with an organization that is celebrating 75 years of ministry this year, and we say congratulations to Jamaica Youth for Christ and 75 years of ministry. But it was in that context when I tried to find out what are some more of the challenges facing youth and how to help them that I discovered teen suicide. I did a survey on Jamaican teenagers at risk, the church's response, and did a lot of work in suicide prevention from the days of Youth for Christ. But Choose Life International was established to focus on this as an issue. And that's our flagship. It doesn't mean that's the only thing that we do, but that's our main focus. And we have just come out of the World Suicide Prevention Day seminar with over 2,000 people in several nations across the nation. And we say thanks to Love for being one of our media sponsors.
How does one get in touch with Choose Life International, or is it that you get in touch with persons? How does it work?
No, people can go to our website, www.chooselifeintl.org. You can call our office, 876 You can even send me a WhatsApp message at 869-3403. That's 876-869-3403. And CLI, helping people live at gmail.com.
Love it. We're going to get back to that information, because we're going to need to repeat it. But what made you really, you spoke about, you come up and saw the issue of teen suicide. But is there any other reason? Were there any close to home stories that made you venture into this field of suicide prevention?
No, no close to home story. Just the passion to help young people choose life. Just the burden of seeing the brokenness, and thus the need to provide answers. So I really came upon this topic um, just by chance or providentially, by chance. But God was at work in ordering that. I did my first paper on Jamaican teenagers at risk, the church's response, and realized that 1 in 4 of the Jamaican teenagers had seriously thought about taking their own lives. Then I did pastoral response to teen suicide. And when it was time for me to do my doctoral dissertation, I was encouraged by my classmates, including the Reverend Dr. Sam Vassell, to say, Donovan, you have done so much work in this virgin territory already. Why don't you just continue to do that? And I have no regret about exploring the topic. That's my dissertation topic, confronting suicidal propensity among Jamaican teenagers.
Yes, good. Dr. Sam Vassell, always an encourager. The rate, or can you give us some statistics comparing the rate of suicide, the completion of suicide, male versus female?
I probably just have a little bit of stats here at hand, and I want to take you back to the records as between 2013 and 2017, 259 persons took their lives in Jamaica during those years. 259. When we look at when we do the analysis, we realize that 14% of those were females, and 86% males. Many more males complete suicide compared to women, and we have got to be very deliberate about helping men to choose life, and that's a high percentage there. But in general, the ratio of males to females is about 3 to 1. Generally, about a quarter females and 3/4 um, males.
So we're saying even for teen suicide, that 1 in every 4 teen have thoughts of suicide, and for men, the percentage becomes even higher as they become older. Any factors attributing to that? Does age play
Um,
a role?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm saying as they become older, Courtney. What I'm actually saying is that men, whether young or old, are at greater risk to suicide than women. And there are some factors that I want to share with you that I believe actually contribute to men being more at risk. And there are 4 factors that I talk about. And one of them is the psychological factor. It is the man who runs away from the guidance counselor. It is the man who goes down the road and refuses to talk about what bothering him. He is the one who is usually slower in seeking help and just bottle up things. He probably will go on and smoke or drink or, but the woman will talk. So the first factor is psychological factor. Men internalize stuff. Women will externalize, will talk about it, and sometimes the women them chat too much, but talk can really be therapy. So that's the first thing, the psychological factor.
Let's stick a pin there with the psychological factor and what you just said, where women will talk and men won't talk. Is there any cultural, social belief that cause our men to want to run away? Or is it just that they are men and so they do this?
Well, the other factor that you have just pushed me into is the socialization factor. Because the way we socialize our boys actually teach them that it is inappropriate to express feelings. Think with me a little bit. 2 3 year olds are playing, a boy and a girl. The boy and the girl both fall. What does the average Jamaican, what does the average person in the Caribbean region, what does the average person do? Pick up the girl, brush off her wherever she's hurting, give her a kiss, and mwah, hush, darling, don't cry. What do we do, boy? Slap your name, man, be tough. And we are teaching our boys from very early that it is inappropriate to express feelings. And I want to say to all of us, boys hurt, girls hurt. Let us do what we can to be able to meet them at their points of need. And it is okay for us to validate the fact that our boys are hurting, that our men are hurting. And one psychiatrist says, name it, claim it, and tame it. Help them
Um,
to be able to accept it, that what is going on, and actually work towards taming it.
Dr. Donovan Thomas, I thank you for sharing that perspective. We're going to stick it right there. We're going to be taking a break. We're going to be throwing back to the studio and come right back. You're listening to the program, The Mailbox. I'm Pastor Courtney Morris. We'll be right back with you.
When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
We all have a part to play, even if it's just staying home. And Fontana Pharmacy is here to help you stay safe. Visit fontanapharmacy.com to shop from a wide variety of products and let us deliver them to you. Need to refill a prescription? WhatsApp us. The numbers are all on our website. Try Fontana Pharmacy online shopping today. Conditions apply.
When you've been around for 100 years, you've seen a lot. And at Grace, we've seen you enjoying meals while watching a movie, sometimes while watching a game, or being extra picky while watching your weight. We've been there serving up meals for the big moments and helping you take care of the little ones when that lunch bell rings. And with 100 years of great taste that has moved generations, you can be sure we'll be here for 100 more. Grace, celebrating 100 years of taste that moves you. When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're live on the program, The Mailbox. We're discussing suicide prevention, the facts, the fiction, and how it is that we can tame this crisis. We are with our guest, Dr. Donovan Thomas, and he says he doesn't want to be called one or known as one, but we believe he's one, suicide prevention expert, and he's the one noted in Jamaica for doing all the research. And as such, he has come up with some facts. He was naming 4 areas in which men are deemed to, not necessarily be focused on. He were giving us 2. One was, if you can name the 2, and I want us to stick a pin at the second one, the social. Name those 2 again before we go to the third one.
Yeah, the psychological factor and socialization factor.
The socialization factor, Dr. Thomas, you spoke about a boy and a girl falling and how we treat them. Here is my question to you, because I want to know how we can address both issues that we have dealt with so far, even before we go to the other 2. Men and women learn from these things in such a way that both man and woman will say, if a man shows his feelings, I'm soft. If he cries, he's a sissy. And if he talks a lot, we saw something that happened once on national television here in Portmore, where a particular politician referred to a gentleman and said, it must be your time of the month. How do we address these factors? How do we get it in the minds of individuals that men are also emotional beings and sensitive? How can we help with the socialization program process?
Well, I think we need to begin by affirming and validating the feelings of our children, male and female. So instead of criticizing and telling them that you shouldn't feel that way, let's validate the fact that it is okay for you to feel everything that you feel. And then we want to be patient with our boys as we are patient with our girls, that we treat them with tenderness and care, that we help them to know that they are valuable, that they are capable, that they are lovable in spite of what's going on. So we want to help them to own the feelings, not to bury it, not to try and smoke and drink to be able to suppress it, but we want them to be able to say, yes, that's how you feel. So a very big part of what we do in Choose Life International as we seek to help people live is to be able to help them to connect with feelings. And it's interesting. I do this with adults. I do this with males, females, boys, girls. And it is so challenging sometimes for men to connect with their feelings. The man them will say, boy, I feel bad. What does that mean? So we want to say feel embarrassed or get in touch with it. So we want to teach people to be able to do it. And one of the things we can do in our families, in our churches, in our communities is to use the skill of reflective listening. So as people, as our boys or girls, even in our families or even our spouses, as we deal with situations, then we want to reflect what they're feeling, and also the content of what they are saying. So, Courtney, you're really feeling very disappointed that you didn't get the prize last week.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so you're angry that mommy left you at home while the other two went for ice cream. So, we want to get people to be able to validate the feelings of our males and our females.
For our males, how important is affirmation? You spoke to the issue of not criticizing. How important to the male is the issue of affirmation? And
As
when
one who
it
has
comes on to the issue and the factors of suicidal thoughts.
as one who has as a parent who has raised helped to raise two boys, my wife and I
Mhm.
would say very important that we affirm our boys. The males need the affirmation as much as the girls. So we have to help to validate them. So don't think that all the man them can just rough it out. Too many men are hurting. Too many men are hurting because of the absence of positive role models. Courtney, one of the protective factors in the
Mhm.
life of a male is actually strong connection with parents and also strong connection with non-parental adults. So we want to find that there are people who look out for us, people who care about us. In our church, we talk about the uncles and the aunties. And these are people who we look up to, who the children look up to, and they are ones that help us to build resilience in life. So it is important that we connect with the adult community and with our parents.
Very nice. So you have named two factors. We want to hear the other two. You said there are four areas.
Four
Let's
factors I want to
factors.
highlight, and
Yes.
one of those factors is economic factors.
Mhm.
I had a man who called me sometime ago and said, Dr. Thomas, sometimes I feel like I want to kill myself. And I said, yeah, help me understand what's going on. And he said, my baby mother, them are pressure me. My baby mothers are pressuring me. Obviously, he was not able to provide for these babies that he had.
Mhm.
And because of that, he really felt frustrated, felt pressured, and decided that and had thoughts about wanting to kill himself. Courtney, economic factor is one of those things that can push somebody over the edge. So strong is the relationship between economy and suicide that a new word has been coined. It is econocide.
Wow.
So, in our own operation, we have had to be able to just help people to turn that corner. And sometimes it is just a simple help that is going to be able to propel a man in the path of just being able to choose to live. We have heard stories of people killing themselves, men killing themselves because of financial investment failures. And we want to say, even if you have failed in investment, there is still possibility. All right, so that is the economic factor. And
Now,
then
before you go to the fourth factor, because we're almost up on another time break, here's a question that I have in regards to what you say. Persons might say, but he's a weak individual. You know, he has so much, and because of a little crisis, he kills himself. You know, so say a weak man that. And the issue where he talks about his baby mother, them pressure him. Some people say, but you put yourself in another position. So a term that I don't use really. So man up and step up to the plate. Yes? How does that play? And even in scripture, we have this a man who cannot provide for his household is worse than an infidel. Does that play with the psyche of a man?
when a man is not able to provide for his household, it does impact him psychologically. And we want to be able to help our men to take responsible decisions. If you are not able to provide for the children and leave them where they are, don't go get involved with these women and be irresponsible. Too many of our children are out there hurting and angry and upset because of the fatherlessness. And fathers need to really just step up the plate to be able to just help change the mindset of the young men in our society today.
How do we help them to, and again, I don't tell them step up to the plate. I say, how can I walk with you to get you to where you need to get to? Because sometimes in the psychology of a man, he hears that he's already a failure. How do I encourage him? How do I give him back the courage to walk the walk that he's supposed to?
All right, so you're right. We connect with him, we walk the path with him. We look for opportunities to affirm him.
Yes.
We engage him in problem solving. We engage him in things that he feels productive. Take it at his pace. Just help him to be able to to make small steps, to be able to recognize that he too has something to offer, and try to empower him to be engaged in helping others. And we want to actually, in the midst of what's going on, to engage our men in a way that helps them to focus on the good that is happening in their lives, even if some bad things are happening. Life is like a train line, and
Yes.
there are two train lines. They're heading in the same direction, but they never meet. And the good and the evil. So we want to help to build resilience. I want to say to our men, life is 10% of what happens and 90% of our response. So we want to respond in a way that is going to empower us and help us to choose life.
You go back to those three words. He is capable, he is valuable, and what's the third one?
Is lovable.
He's lovable. I want you to spend 2 minutes telling us, how does a man feel lovable? And if he is not feeling as if he's lovable or appreciated, does he stay where he is, or does he move on to somewhere where he'll feel lovable?
Well, how does a man feel lovable? We have to understand the love language of individuals. So it's not a one size fit all. Some person is the act of service, will be spending time, some will be receiving gifts. So we have to understand the man you're dealing with and help him to be able to and communicate with him in a language that he understands. All right. So I want to experience love in a certain kind of way. I want to feel I want to be treated with tenderness, with care. I want quality time.
But
So
that
that's
sounds like a soft man. That sounds like a soft man in the Jamaican culture. He's supposed to be rough and tough. How does
you
he
know,
how does he
you know,
remain masculine and not become emasculated in being lovable?
in the face of all that is going on, there needs to be balance. We have to own all that we're dealing with. And sometimes what we do is that we fake it and we don't deal with what's happening inside there, inside our lives. We pretend as if, and so what is happening is just a front. It is hollow. It is trying to fit into a mold without dealing with all the inhibitions and the hurts and the pain that we have, and therefore it is shell. So when the problems come, we have no substance to be able to deal with it. So don't pretend as if you're there. Get the help you need, so that when we look on and see a man looking strong on the outside, we know that he's firm and strong and not hollow on the inside.
We're speaking to Dr. Donovan Thomas, suicide prevention expert, Choose Life International, and he's encouraging us to choose life. And we know where that scripture come from today. I present to you heaven and earth as witnesses. And the Lord himself says, choose life. We're going to be taking a studio break once more, and we're going to come right back to this interesting, informative, and educational discussion.
You know what I count, yeah. Hey, me count, you count. Census say all of we count. Hey, you count, me count. Census say all of we count. Hey, information needed to develop the community. Them scouts them out and I get the reports. So don't bother hide when you see them.
Census 2022. The Jamaican census will be conducted between September and December 2022.
You go, me go.
We are family.
I'm Siobhan Blair, Youth Ambassador for the family station Love 101. Young people, we are living unprecedented times, but I implore you to choose hope once you choose hope. anything is possible. Let's reignite the love.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Are you ready for another exciting showing start alive 1 to 5 this Throwback Thursday, September 15? Join me, your host, Sarah and the Chirpy One, for another time to recollect and to reconnect. Stick around for Pearl Blast at 2 o'clock. 2:15 inside Pieces of the Past. We continue our Parish Church Lesson Series, Part 5, looking at the St. Andrew's Anglican Church. Then at 3 p.m., we bring you another episode of Proverbially Speaking, Children, Part 2. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. this Throwback Thursday, September 15 on the family station, Love 101.
Grace, celebrating 100 years of taste that moves you. The time by Grace Foods is
6:02 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. Welcome back to the program, The Mailbox. We want to continue to thank our sponsor, Fosrich Company. We're here speaking with Dr. Donovan Thomas, noted suicide prevention expert. And I'll continue to say that. We were talking about factors that occur in men that may lead to completion of suicide. We spoke about the psychological, we spoke about the social and the economic. Let's go into that fourth factor because we want to talk about the signs that may present themselves so that we can identify whether or not someone is thinking down that road.
All right, Courtney, before I do that, I also wanted to just highlight our connection with an organization called the International Association of Suicide Prevention. And I happen to be the national representative in Jamaica at this time.
Excellent.
IASP is leading organization around the world and is leader in helping people to just dealing with the issues and studying the topic and so forth. So go to the website and look up International Association of Suicide Prevention and see the great work that is being done there and some of the questions that you may have. Yeah, so we talk about psychological, we talk about economic, we talk about socialization. The next factor I want to highlight is a religious factor.
Yes.
Because religion is a protective factor against suicide. And when we look in the context of, in our Jamaican context, we recognize that that Christianity is the largest religion. And when we go to the place of worship of the Christians, what is that called again, Courtney?
Sanctuary.
All right. When you go to the sanctuary, I know it can be online or it can be, it can be building. But when you go to the place of worship, do you find more men or do you find more women?
Oh, the percentage is 80% women, 20% men, are even greater.
All right. So many more women are in the church and they know that this too will pass. That God is not going to give them more than what He's prepared to help them bear. That even though the fig tree does not bud, there are no grapes in the vine, no cat in the stall, yet they can rejoice in the Lord because the sovereign Lord is their strength. Many of us men, we see ourselves as the answer to our problems. And when we see our own human frailties and we don't recognize that there's a superior being who is able to do far above that which we are able to think or imagine, then if it's all on our shoulders, then we carry the weight of the world and the problems of this that we're facing on our shoulders, and we become powerless. The women will cast their cares upon Jesus because they know He cares. More of us as men need to connect with that element, that aspect of our being, the spiritual dimension, because it is a protective factor against suicide. Jesus, Luke 2:52 tells us, Jesus increased in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God and man. And the spiritual is also important.
So the four factors are psychological, socialization, economic, and religious, and must be borne in mind. We just want to remind our listeners and our viewers that men, you can call us at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328, or you can send us messages, ladies and men, via our Facebook or YouTube And the WhatsApp line is 876-997-3125. We're having this very important discussion with Dr. Donovan Thomas of Choose Life International Foundation today. I call it a foundation. He is here with us to help us to analyze what are some of the symptoms, signs that may make you know that someone is considering or contemplating suicide? And is it that they're seeking attention? What's happening there? Let us hear.
All right. So when we talk about signs, we talk about things like making suicide threats. That is verbally expressing, if I ever fail my exam, I'm going to kill myself. If she ever left me, I'll kill myself. And so we verbalize it. Then the threat often moves to a plan. And the more detailed the plan, the closer a man is to the suicide act. A man often prepares for death. He may make sure that that the documents are in order. He may sell some stuff. He may give away stuff as he prepares to hurt himself. And sometimes a man feeling like a burden, not able to deliver, as we have highlighted before, he feels that is of no use, and he takes on that burden, and sometimes that is even expressed as a warning sign. And sometimes we notice drastic changes in moods and behavior. This is not how the brethren usually roll, but all of a sudden him just by himself, there's change in eating and sleeping habits. He is talking about killing himself, and especially if he has a means of death, that can be dangerous. Sometimes we find the hopelessness and no hope for the future at all being very evident. Sometimes he even begins to self-harm, he cuts himself, and sometimes we find that the men become aggressive and irritable as they deal with just the discomfort with themselves, and those may be indications that the man may be thinking about hurting himself.
What about becoming silent and quiet and
Yeah,
reclusive?
that's what I would cover it on the drastic changes in mood and behavior. But also, I want to point out that sometimes coming out of depression can be a dangerous place to be. Sometimes a man is so depressed that he don't have the will or the strength to kill himself. But when he's coming out of that depression, people think, oh yeah, he's doing much better now, we can leave him alone. And therefore the man who was locked up in his room and didn't see the daylight for a few days, then when he started coming out, people stopped watching him, and that was when he actually killed himself, hanging himself on the door. So if he had stretched out his legs, he would have reached ground. So we want to watch those things. And very often I say, Courtney, use your ear. What are you hearing them saying? Look at them. What is going on in what you're seeing? Watch their behavior and help them to be able to process what's going on. Step in before it is too late. Courtney, it is a myth to think that if a man doesn't have suicidal thoughts in his mind, and you ask him, "Are you suicidal?" then you would put it there. It is a myth. That's not true. So let's raise it and save another life.
How important is support in recognizing that someone may exhibit symptoms and signs of attempting to want to commit or complete suicide? Are they seeking attention? Is it a warning cry? What is happening there?
Well, every suicide, every expression about hurting self should be taken seriously. Even if you think the person is just seeking attention. I say to you all and to all of us, let's give the attention and save a life. All right. So don't judge the person and say, your foolishness. That too many people just joke it out. Don't make comments of, oh, your children, your siblings will have more food to eat. No. If a person is hurting, that is the one way the person expresses it. Every suicide expression, every suicidal thought or behavior is an indication that a man is hurting. And while we looked at some of the warning signs, I want to highlight some risk factors.
Yes.
Risk factors such as relationship problems, and that I'm reminded about now because of the murder suicides that we have seen taking place. A man undergoes broken relationship himself. If I can't have her, nobody else gonna have her. And we have seen too many murder suicides in this nation. Risk factors include history of substance abuse, recent death of family or close friends, sometimes sexual abuse. Yes, even the man becomes sexually abused, and that just weakens his own resilience. And then when a man is bullied, he could actually decide, you know what, I don't want to live. So those are some of the risk factors that I'd say to us. Let's look out for the risk factors. Let's seek to reduce risk factors. So we want to reduce risk factors, and we want to build protective factors. And protective factors are those positive conditions, personal and social resources that promote resilience and reduce the potential for suicide. And we can talk a little bit about what are some of those protective factors that we want to promote.
You spoke about, and we're going to be doing that just after this break. But you spoke a bit about do not joke about the situations. We have heard persons say, "Hey, I feel like I'm gonna hang myself," and somebody will turn around and say, "Me be the first one to get to the rope."
Yeah, and I'm saying, you don't know the person's story, you don't know the pain, you don't know the hurt. So we want to be proactive in helping people to choose life. I'd rather you say, let's talk about this. May I give you the helpline operated by the Ministry of Health that you can call to talk to somebody there? And Courtney, may I get your permission to just give out that number?
Without question, sir.
888-639-5433. Years ago, my cell number was the go-to number. But right now, I am able to sleep a little better at nights because the Ministry of Health now has a 24-hour helpline. And some of the counselors that are working there are people who have been associated and are associate staff members with Choose Life. So here's the number again, 888-639-5433. It is okay for a man to call for help. And it is okay for a man to pick up his phone right now and say, may I call a number, because I'm having some issues in my relationship. I have some issues with my child. I just have some problems. I want to talk them through. So it's okay, big man, to get help.
It sounds as if sour relationships, interpersonal relationships, are a big factor in this, in suicidal thoughts. We're going to take a break and come right back. We're speaking with Dr. Donovan Thomas. We're speaking to the issue of suicide prevention, the facts, the fiction, and prevention. We'll come right back after this break.
We go build the ark, make the heathen them laugh, talk. No one ever skylark. Some judgment going dark and a witch part on. We go preach. I say yeah, say cheese. Say cheese and keep on smiling. Oh, say cheese. Say cheese and keep on smiling. So much joy you bring everywhere you go, the people have to smile. Say cheese, say cheese. I just love you bring everywhere you go, the people have to smile. Just say cheese and keep smiling.
Nothing creates a smile like cheese. Happy Cheese Month, Jamaica, from Tasty Cheese. When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Maniville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back. This is the final segment of the program, The Mailbox, live here on Love 101, the family station. Again, we want to say thanks to Fosrich Company, your electrical, solar, and lighting people. I just want to mention Fosrich, by sponsoring the Mailbox, you're bringing light to our men, a very important thing that needs to be done in this season. And so we thank you very much for being sponsors. The Reverend Dr. Donovan Thomas is here with us from Choose Life International, former director of Jamaica Youth for Christ and region of the Caribbean. See I'm big? So he knows much about what he's doing and saying. Suicide prevention expert of Choose Life International. And he's here talking about the silent crisis, men and suicide. When we closed off the last segment, we're saying it seems as if interpersonal relationships are a big factor. Relationships that have gone sour, that can encompass all of the four factors we mentioned: psychological, socialization, religious, and economic, because all of those are wrapped up in family, in relationships. How do we, Dr. Donovan Thomas, ensure that we have healthy lifestyle, encourage others, support them, and what organizations do you think is the church doing enough? How can we ensure? How can we aid in preventing suicide in our men?
Well, there are some practical things that we can do to help our men to live. We want to prevent suicide. Let me just refer you to Acts chapter 16, where Paul saw a man that was about to kill himself. And he never said, go ahead and do it. No, he never said, stab yourself if you're near man. He shouted out and said, do yourself no harm. We're all here.
Hey.
So we can issue that shout. Don't harm yourself. That's one. And then we can say, we are here for you, to be able to connect with you, to be able to help you work through what's going on. So we want to be patient with each other. And there are some things that we shouldn't do. We shouldn't say, go ahead and try. We shouldn't say, we shouldn't get trapped into secrecy. We should not leave the person alone if a person is suicidal. We should not look shocked or embarrassed if the person said to you, Courtney, sometimes I feel like I want to kill myself. Don't call him mad, but help the person to be able to process and take it to the next level. I say to anyone that is listening, anyone of my brethren them listening, and even the ladies listening, because they are listening, share your feelings with someone responsible. Hand over any drugs or weapon that you have. Disclose your plans to a trusted friend. Insist that you will not obey that voice. Remember, suicide causes more problems. Many times I found, Courtney, that men really just want a solution. We want to find a solution. The suicide is not the solution. You may kill yourself, but that don't solve the problem. It creates problem for many more people. And many times I have had to say to some of the men and women that, what you're really after is trying to find a solution. We want to remind our men that suicide is permanent and your problem is temporary. So let's work on problem solve rather than kill self.
I love the scripture you took from Acts that says, we are all here. Do no harm to yourself. How are we going to continue to get individuals to recognize that support in relationships, whether or not we believe individuals are strong or not? How do we convince persons that they can be a part of the health. And question is, who goes through these suicidal thoughts? Do pastors, do members of the church, or is it only secular people? People filled with the Holy Ghost can't be going through having suicidal thoughts. Them don't have
Oh,
no Holy Ghost, man.
Courtney, my brother, everybody goes through this. Every category of people go through this. When I say everybody, I don't mean individuals now, but if we talk about pastors, do pastors kill themselves? Yes. Do politicians kill themselves? Yes. The peasant? Yes. So wherever we are in life, the businessman, the police, we have heard much of that. We recognize that where there is easy access to means of death, the suicide risk may even be higher. So those are people who carry firearms, those persons who use it because who carry it because of work or just because to protect yourself. It is a risk factor. And we have seen that so many times when access to the firearm is that which gives the man the extra it needs to be he needs to be able to just do the act. And we want to say be responsible enough to know, that it's time to put away the firearm. Even if you're a policeman, a security officer, and you have the firearm, time to put it away. We want to encourage you in the face of all that is going on, to just make sure that you are sharing your feelings with someone responsible. Talk to those persons who you know can help you. Yeah, pastor can talk to pastor still. And sometimes we don't have to, we must stop hiding under the color that we wear or the position that we are in. We must be willing to find somebody that we can talk to. And it is okay to see a counselor. And the purpose in life is to help people to choose a better life. So we have benefited from counseling. We are in counseling. My family has benefited from counseling. And we want to encourage you to reach out and get help from trained counselors who will empower you to be able to make the right decisions in the midst of time, in the midst of the crisis.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Donovan Thomas. It seems like a mountain to climb. You mentioned 259 persons in the beginning who completed suicide, and 86% of those persons were men, 14% were women. We hear a term being brandished about the place known as emotional intelligence. Um, how important is that in helping to prevent suicidal completion?
Um, so many times we hear about IQ, it is intelligence quotient. We hear about EQ, and I want to also introduce the SQ. Well, let's talk about the IQ is one's ability. Um, oh, it's how bright one is. But the EQ is how well we are able to function. So the those persons with better EQ do better on the job. They're able to get on with people. They are able to process their problems easier, and they are willing to cry out for help more. So emotional quotient is important because we need to live emotionally healthy lives. Choose Life International has embarked on a plan to activate the emotional um, survey, emotional study, and to be able to come up with a one-page document on individuals to be able to say, where are you at in terms of your emotional stability? And just by answering a number of questions and analyzing that, we're able to give you a one page on whether or not you're high risk, low risk, medium risk, or no risk to suicide. And what this does to is that it gives us an insight into what's going on in the person's life. And we want to say to people, let's do those kinds of assessment to pick up where our children are at risk and even where we may at risk, so that we can get help before it becomes a crisis.
Yes, yes. I want to
Oh,
thank you on
sorry,
behalf.
SQ Sorry, the
Also,
SQ
it's
journey
true.
is the spiritual quotient. It
Yes.
is when you know that you know that you know that there is this superior being that is able to help us in the midst of difficulties. I listened to Bishop Philbert Johnson, Jamaica, now living in Antigua, shared on the Choose Life International Zoom forum recently, and he said he was suicidal as a teenager, but when he met Jesus Christ, that made a difference for him, and he has not gone back to being suicidal. Yes, that helps. But I want to remind people that Choose Life International believes in the bio-psychosocial spiritual model of intervention. There's a place for medication, there's a place for counseling, there's a place for social intervention, there's a place for spiritual intervention. So we encourage them and them to get the help they need so that they can live healthier lives.
Most men I've met do not trust counselors. I remember myself having to deal with a young man. I didn't even tell him I was going to counsel him. I invited him to eat. We go KFC, go sit down and eat, and he came. And after 3 hours of sitting there just talking, he then said to me, "You just counseled me, right?" I said, "You better believe it."
And
How
Conan,
do
that's
we
a,
get our men
yeah.
to want to seek help, accept help? Because I believe there's a trust factor that also comes into play. What do we do?
I believe one of the things that we really need to do is to show that we care.
Hey, there you go, sir. Agree to
Um,
you
I
100%.
I participated in a conference of the International Association of Suicide Prevention over a 1 week period. We had over 100 presentations, and at the end of it, the chairman for the conference said he has never had anybody who has come to him to say, "Thank you for your new discovery in psychiatry or your new discovery in psychology that helped me." But he has had many people who have come to him to say, "Thank you for showing that you care. It helped me to be able to navigate the difficulties of life." So show care. You may have to shout with that care. Don't harm yourself. We are all here. It may mean just reasoning. It may mean reasoning over food. It may mean involving the man in a project that him feel that he has something to contribute. Not just to say, come and sit down in church and clap your hand, but find
Exactly,
creative
sir.
ways to be able to communicate. It may be on a domino table. It may be drinking some soup. It may be working on a project in the community or the church. But we want to engagement in a way that empowers them, that validates their manhood, and also let them know that they have something to offer in this life.
Best way to end it. I believe that if most of us would show genuine care, we'd have less people seeking professional care. Donovan, in the next 10 seconds, choose that international number and that helpline again, please, as we close out.
The Ministry of Health helpline, 888-639-5433. Choose Life International, 876-920-7924. 876-920-7924.
Thank you very much, Dr. Donovan Thomas, suicide prevention expert and president founder Choose Life International. He has been our guest. We also want to say thanks to our producer Tony K. Bromfield, to our technical engineer Tamoy Butler for technical support. We thank you, our listeners and viewers and participants. We want you to continue to share and comment on each episode on our YouTube channel. Previous episodes are also available for viewing and notes taking at Love 101 FM Jamaica. I leave you with this quote. So suicide doesn't end the chances of life getting worse. It eliminates the possibility of it ever getting better. This program, designed for men with guests who are men. And I was your host, Courtney Morrison. Catch you next week, same time. By Fosrich Company Limited, your electrical, solar, and lighting people, and brought to you by Love 101 FM, the family station. Have a great week.
But don't worry because